Broadcasting live from the Capitol OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capitol OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet features great racing now through Florida Derby weekend at the end of March. Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. A little bit later on, we will be joined by our friend, writer, and author Jennifer Kelly. Last year, about this time, on the America's Best Racing website, she had a nice article, kind of a holiday book guide. If you have a racing fan on your list, maybe some ideas, or if you want to give yourself something for the holidays, some ideas as well. But as I say, I saw it last year, and I actually saw it recently, but it was from last year. But I thought, get Jen on, and maybe we'll update a little bit with some book ideas for the holiday season. As I say, some gift ideas perhaps for folks. That's coming up bottom of the hour-ish. In the meantime, as usual, we'll take a look at some of the stakes action from yesterday, obviously highlighted by the really nice card down at Aqueduct, which produced some runners that we will definitely want to keep our eyes on going forward. I also, every day, I get the daily recap from Aqueduct, kind of going over the winners of the day and payouts and, the late pick 5 and the pick 6 and whatnot, percentage of favorites at the meet up to this point, et cetera, et cetera. And nothing particularly notable on it from yesterday, other than both the trainer and the jockey battles at this point in the meet are kind of interesting. No surprise, we realized from the day after, the end of the previous meet, the day after the Breeders' Cup, when Flavien Prat had the 7-win day, we realized he was on a little bit of a roll. But that continues. The jockey battle at this current Aqueduct meet, Flavien Prat 37 wins, and in second, Manny Franco with 20. So almost double the number of the second place jockey for Flavien Prat. But also Linda Rice having a very good meet, as would, again, no surprise. Linda Rice 22, Chad Brown 14. So a notable gap there as well. We'll see how the remainder of the meet plays out. But at this point, Linda Rice and Flavien Prat doing very, very well down in New York. And again, something to keep in mind when you're handicapped. You don't like to handicap necessarily the human element as opposed to the talent of the horse, but there are some tracks, some of the smaller tracks, it's not as important, it seems like. The trainers and the jockeys are fairly evenly matched, and you really can just kind of hang your head on the talent of the horse. But a lot of venues, and more of the A venues, there's the top group of jockeys and the top group of trainers, and you have to give them a little bit of maybe an extra look, certainly. And Flavien Prat and Linda Rice down in New York currently, and Linda Rice for a while now, definitely deserve an extra look. All right, let's take an extra look at yesterday's stakes action in New York. 6 stakes, 4 graded, 2 New York Stallion Series stakes, and the New York Stallion Series stakes were very, very nice as well. But we'll go in chronological order. The day started stakes-wise in race number 3 yesterday, and it was the Demoiselle. I took a little shot with Concurrently. I say a little shot because Zany was clearly going to be the favorite, but Concurrently was interesting to me for Chad Brown on a series of improving efforts and had broken through in the previous start. We had Howard Kravitz on yesterday. He had a little question mark on Concurrently and the distance, given that the horse seemed to flatten out at a mile in the previous start. It was a win, but now at a mile and an eighth. I took the pop with Concurrently and actually got 4-1. Happy with that, but Concurrently does wind up third in here. Favorite was Zany for Todd Pletcher, coming off a debut win down at Gulfstream. That was very nice. Zany's the number 3 horse here. Irad Ortiz on board, gets it done. Jumping the Gun, the number 1 horse at 8-1, runs second, concurrently third. But again, it's Pletcher and Rapoli. They had the win again, the debut win down at Gulfstream beginning of November. And Todd said he made the decision coming out of this race. Mike Rapoli was coming out of, the debut effort. Mike Rapoli was already thinking, hey, maybe we'll go to New York for this race. And I saw the interview in the winner's circle with Todd Pletcher. He said, yeah, I had to convince Mike. I'm sure there was no convincing Mike. I'm sure Mike is ready to pop into a stakes race with his horses at any point. I mean, Todd said it with a smile. So I'm sure Mike, as I say, after the debut effort, he was already looking from reports. So Todd said after the last workout of Palm Beach Downs, which was just, a little over a week ago, November 29th, they shipped to New York and get it done. Get it done very nicely, as you can see there. Chart margins 8.5 lengths. Winds up with an 89 buyer figure off the debut victory, which was a 76, so moves forward significantly buyer-wise. The time, 150.55, 0.42 faster than the Remsen. So she went faster than the boys in here. This was a an Oaks points race, so she winds up with 10 points for the Oaks. Pletcher, 10th win in the Demoiselle, and amongst the list of his previous winners, not a bad list to be on. Ashado, Malathat, Nest, amongst that previous 9 that had won. So we'll see. Zany looking very good yesterday in the Demoiselle for Todd Pletcher, and again, adding to a list of his winners in that race that very notable, and we'll see if she can go on to be amongst that group. A daughter of American Pharaoh. They bought this one right up the street, facing Tipton, August 24 for $350,000. So another productive horse coming out of the Saratoga sale. Zany, notable. As I said, it was a notable day for horses that we will be watching going forward. Zany is right in that list, clearly. As I said, actually, before we get, I was going to mention once again, New York Stallion Series was very nice, but actually before that, we had the Elite Power. Demoiselle was race 3 yesterday. Race 5 was the Elite Power for the sprinters. I liked El Grande O. I was interested that the betting public went with Just Beat the Odds. And the way the track's been playing, as I was sitting in here doing the handicapping show, I said, I think the betting public is looking for Just Beat the Odds to get out there and steal it on the front end, because speed has been very potent down at Aqueduct. I thought Acoustic Avenue at 6-1 for Linda Rice was interesting. I had El Grande O over Acoustic Avenue. It was a scratch-reduced field of 5. And the betting public was right. Just Beat the Odds, the number 4 horse, went off as the 7-5 favorite and takes them wire to wire. It looks like it's going to be a little dicey here with Acoustic Avenue kind of pushing on to make it interesting. But you could see after a few strides that Just Beat the Odds was not coming back. Manny Franco on board, the winner. Again, $4.94 there at a short price, taking them all the way. It was a Greg Sacco runner. They had some starts and stops with this horse, and Sacco in the winner's circle, along with his son Will. And Will kind of heads the Greg Sacco New York division. So Greg gave a lot of credit to his son Will. They were both commenting the horse has shown some talent, but again, this year there was a couple of stops and starts that they had to overcome. And one of them was coming into this race. Hadn't been seen since April. That's one of the reasons I downgraded Just Beat the Odds a little bit. That layoff, our friend Anthony Mormino is always saying, and it's true, these days the layoff isn't the concern it was when I first got into the game. But still, an April to November to December layoff in a graded event, I just shied away a little bit, but looked great. Again, Will Sacco, son of Greg Sacco, had this one ready. Acoustic Avenue ran well. That's a nice little New York bred for Linda Rice. Notable this one, the winner comes off an April layoff. This one was coming off 3 starts in October for Linda Rice. And they were all right in the thick of things, and in the thick of things again yesterday in the Elite Power. So again, first 2 looking pretty good. But I will note, it was clearly there was a gap between first and second, but I thought Acoustic Avenue ran well, but running very well was Just Beat the Odds with a triple-digit 100 buyer yesterday. So again, nice win there on the sprint side of things for Just Beat the Odds. Then we move on to that New York Stallion Series. As I say, there were a couple of New York Stallion Series races that were both fun races, certainly. And in the first, it was the 2-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs. I thought Hot Currency from Linda Rice was the one to beat in here, was coming off of a maiden breaker in the 3rd career start that, again, seemed one of those light bulb moment kind of things. Clearly had progressed through the first 3 starts and then broke through with a much improved buyer last time. So I tilted in the direction of number 10, Hot Currency. I did not use Braver Than You Believe for John Ortiz, but that one was coming off a maiden breaker in the debut. That's always notable, but it was over a sloppy track with a 67 buyer figure. And so the number was a little light. Maybe the horse liked the slop. A lot of times, though, we look at these slop races, and in this kind of a situation where you don't know, you don't have a whole resume yet, fact of the matter is, who knows if the horse really appreciated the slop or won despite the slop and was really going to like the fast track. And that looked to be the case yesterday. Gets over to the fast track, and it will be number 8, Braver Than You Believe, getting it done. Number 12, Daniela Marie. Take a look at the gutsy performance there. That's our friend Roddy Valenti's horse, in a $500,000 New York Stallion Series race. In only start number 3 for Roddy. So it was a nice performance. Just fades a little bit late, Daniela Marie running 3rd. But as I say, it was a nice try and only the 3rd start for Daniela Marie by Honest Mischief. And Hot Currency, the Linda Rice horse I liked, got up for 2nd and was kind of in the thick of things for a while. The chart margin, though, winds up a length and a quarter. There was some momentum for Hot Currency, but it was just a little too late for the momentum. Back in only 2 weeks was Braver Than You Believe. So John Ortiz, again, this race has these 2 New York Stallion Series races at the end of the year have this kind of a situation every year where you look at the PPs, and there's some turf meant horses that show up here, and there's some horses that are maybe super lightly raced with only 1 start, come back quickly. There's that, but there's $500,000 out there, and you just don't get a chance that often. So they thought the debut effort was good enough to take a shot for the $500,000. They were right. Now, I mentioned Roddy's horse by Honest Mischief. This horse, the winner, Braver Than You Believe, also by Honest Mischief. According to Dave Grenning, Honest Mischief hit my radar this time last year because last year he sired both of the winners of these 2 stakes races. He was 2024. He was named the leading freshman sire outside of Kentucky. And again, the Grenning article says of his 73 starters, Honest Mischief's offspring have won 35. 73 starters, 35 winners amongst that group. And as I say, his offspring won both of these races last year. So Honest Mischief on the New York bred side of things, definitely worth taking a look at. As I say, he hit my radar about this time last year. All right, the 9th race was the Remsen 2-year-olds. Always a fun race on the 2-year-old side of things at the end of the year in New York. Yesterday was no exception. Paladin and Renegade were my two top picks. I had Howard Kravitz on yesterday. He very much liked Paladin, said it was his Derby future bet. $1.9 million purchase. Basic tipped in 2024, right up in Saratoga. Chad Brown trainee that won in the career debut, but did it by DQ against Renegade, who was also in the race. And yesterday we showed the replay. There was a bump. I didn't think it was a whole lot of a bump, but there was a DQ. And so what was going to happen yesterday? Well, they dug down and battled in the stretch again. But Paladin yesterday clearly proved best. Chad Brown gave credit to Flavien Prat for not getting close to Renegade to be able to get a bump today, because he said, sometimes you bump these horses and they'll get a little spurt, they'll get a little fire. Flavien Prat kept them apart, and it is a chart margin of 2 lengths with Paladin getting it done under Flavien Prat for Chad Brown. Renegade runs second. Paladin was the favorite yesterday, 10 Derby points. Chad said lost a right front shoe. So that is interesting as well, overcomes that. Paladin, an 85 buyer. The debut win was an 87 buyer, winds up with an 85, mid-80s this time of year for 2-year-olds. Nice. Courting, the $5 million purchase that I said yesterday, I was very interested to see. Got bumped early. Todd Pletcher thought with the trip and whatnot, it was a little bit of a move forward for Courting. We'll see what this one can do. 3 starts and 1 win so far. Other than that, a couple of fourth-place finishes for a $5 million regally bred horse. But we'll see what Courting can do. But Paladin, clearly one to keep your eyes on next year on the 3-year-old scene, being in the Chad Brown barn and having shown the talent we've seen so far. Cigar Mile was the highlight of the day, theoretically, yesterday. I don't know whether it was it wasn't the greatest edition of the Cigar Mile. That said, Bishop's Bay and Phileas Fogg, both talented, and a win by one or the other maybe elevates the race a little bit in the future, in that they might have nice futures to then reflect back on. So they had some potential to make this a little bit more than it seemed like. And a horse that potentially was going to make it seem like a little bit more than you might expect price-wise for anybody that had it. Micah, the number 2 horse, took the lead, and at the top of the stretch did not look like that one was going to come back. Mike Maker trainee, Manny Franco on board at 14-1. And at this point, Bishop's Bay is going to really have to work, and it looks like it's going to be futile. But in the last few strides, the leader gets a little short. Bishop's Bay is going to push on by and win by a neck as the 6-5 favorite. Mika second, Crazy Mason third. You can see number 6, Phileas Fogg, runs 4th in there. There was some criticism online of Joel Rosario, who, Phileas Fogg probably better up in front. Joel Rosario was quoted after the races saying it looked like Manny with Mika was hell-bent on getting the lead, and I thought I'll sit back. I thought it was in pretty good position. They'd come back, and they didn't come back. So Phileas Fogg, a little bit disappointing as the second choice. But the favorite, Bishop's Bay, does get it done. He was bought last month for $1.3 million by Saudi Arabian-based KAS Stables. And as that is the fact, they hope to get a spot in the February 14th $20 million Saudi Cup. The next start is heading to South Florida with Brad Cox. But the next start might be Saudi Cup prep race, the middle of January in Saudi Arabia. So we'll see what's next for him. But solid performance yesterday with a 107 buyer yesterday for Bishop's Bay. And again, he goes on to make a little noise next year. Then it might make this edition of the Cigar Mile have a little bit more oomph than it had kind of coming in. And finally, another New York Stallion Series race wound up the card yesterday, and a little bit of a price, a little upset. We're going to watch number 9, Sunday Boy, get it done. And I believe there's a full sibling, Sunday Girl. I'm not sure full, but there's a sibling, Sunday Girl, that runs today. But yesterday it was number 9, Sunday Girl, 12-1, getting it done under Chris Elliott. Number 13, Combat Mission, 17-1. Number 8, Muscle Shoals at 34-1. So some prices running 1, 2, 3, but a nice easy victory for Sunday Boy, Jim Ryerson trainee. And he said, he was kind of bouncing around, wasn't sure. They've tried turf, and the horse was a maiden, 5 starts, and had run well a couple of times, including the previous start, a nice second with a lifetime best buyer, but breaks through yesterday. Nothing like breaking your maiden for $500,000. Chris Elliott labeled it the biggest stakes win of his career at this point, and the next start still undecided for that one. But as I always say, you have a nice New York bred. Your options are plenty, as it were. Stay in New York bred company, maybe try open company. We'll see what's up next for Sunday Boy, but it was a nice performance yesterday, certainly. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, a couple of more stakes to look at from the day and more. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
The championship season is on at Gulfstream Park. Great horse racing action Thursday through Sunday. Come out and enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete over the Hallandale Beach Oval all season long. Take your experience up a notch and join us in 10 Palms Restaurant with unbeatable track views, outstanding dining, and convenient wagering options. For reservations, event schedules, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back. I wanted to mention one more at Aqueduct outside of Stakes Company, but the 7th race yesterday. I didn't call for the replay, but if you want to check it out, we're taking a look at Life and Times. It was really impressive. This is a horse that was going out for Todd Pletcher and Michael Tabor, a son of Justify, who didn't debut until the 1st of November as a 4-year-old, but looked very good in the career debut at Aqueduct, again, for Todd Pletcher. Yesterday, second start of the career, really ran away and hid from a bunch in a solid time that, kind of stacks up with, at the mile trip, stacks up with what they did later in the Cigar Mile. Life and Times, Jose Lescano for Todd Pletcher, getting it done. Again, an allowance non-winner. So one other than, but it was only the second start of the career, and it was very impressive. So Life and Times certainly won. And again, a late start to the career, but as a 4-year-old, gelding, we'll see that one. Again, another one of the performances from horses to keep our eyes on going forward out of yesterday's very nice New York card, wrapping up kind of high quality, high grade, graded stakes, high quality racing in New York for a little bit. There'll be some nice stakes racing over the winter, certainly, but this was the with the Cigar and the Remsen and Demoiselle, certainly a nice way to wrap up the season in that respect. Down at Gulfstream, 2 miles in the Allen Jerkins, 2 miles on the grass. I had Summer Cause on top because Summer Cause was kind of the only horse with real marathonish experience, was coming out of a 2-mile race at Far Hills, that jump meet that also has some flat races, ran 4th in there. But interestingly, at Far Hills, that, again, jump meet with some flat races, was carrying 144 Yesterday, Summer Cause got in with 121. So it's a 23-pound weight switch. And Summer Cause, again, being the one with experience, that proved key in here. Tyler Gaffleone was on board, and Summer Cause. It was interesting. They go around 2 turns, and a couple of horses went out, and number 4, Don't Splash the Pot, you can see there kind of fading on the rail, went out to an early lead, and Ballooney was kind of getting chased, and Ballooney really made a big move first time down the stretch, and I'm not sure whether that was a situation of the jock, went blank a little bit, that there's a couple of trips around. Not only, but then that's mitigated by he was out in the middle of the track, which makes me think maybe the horse was pulling him there, and he was trying, oh no, don't go. But it was the first time around was definitely kind of quirky. But then those two came back to the field on the turn, and again, Summer Cause gets it done as the favorite, having again some experience, some marathon experience. Only 0.47 off the course record, but it's interesting. I would think the course record of 2 miles is probably all this race, because I looked it up. The course record holder is a horse named Sir Anthony, and he set the record in 2020 in this race. How many times do they run 2 miles? But so the record is probably plenty of Alan Jerkins stakes race runners. But Summer Cause did come pretty close to the course record there yesterday. All right, that was on the east coast of Florida. Over on the west coast of Florida, we had a couple of stakes races as well. The inaugural was the 2-year-olds going 6 furlongs. Had Ren Carruthers on yesterday. And we were both kind of looking at Solitude Dude, and then maybe you were looking to play around a little bit for a horse to put underneath. But Solitude Dude, coming off a solid number win in the debut at Gulfstream for Safi Joseph and the Bullet Work, lived up to that. No shock. Went off at 10 cents to the dollar. It's the number 7 horse here under Edgard Zayas. Again, comes over from the East Coast to the West Coast off a big debut effort and follows it up in fine fashion here. This one's going to head back to Safi Joseph's Palm Beach barn. The next start is undecided, but again, showed some ability here at Tampa. So maybe the January 10th Pasco, February 7th is the Sam Davis. Wouldn't be shocked to see this one, come back and give a shot at some more Tampa action with that fine Tampa effort yesterday. Also on the card was the Sandpiper for the 2-year-old fillies going 6 furlongs. And again, Ren and I both, thought Sneaky Good was going to be very tough for Brad Cox. I took a little shot with Summer Winter, who was a Minnesota bred and had been running at Canterbury. I thought the horse could be a little bit intriguing. That horse was up in the mix early, but faded late. So I took my shot, my roll of the dice, and it didn't work out. But the horse I had right underneath was the logical Sneaky Good. Like the horse in the previous race, was coming off a debut win. This one at Keeneland for Brad Cox and Company, $450,000 yearling purchase. Sneaky Good, again, lives up to the short price. Not quite as short as that horse in the first race we looked at from Tampa, but at 7-5 did take the action in the field of 9 and got it done pretty easily. So again, a couple of horses that coming out of 2-year-old action at Tampa yesterday in fine fashion, and you would think, again, worth watching going forward. Also, as I say, I had Ren on yesterday. Big day for Ren. If I read correctly, I think she had 7 winners on top. But notable, she looked at with us the 2 stakes races, and then she had a couple of maiden runners, first-time starters, and she's clearly a pedigree person, and she had looked up the pedigrees and thought a couple of winners, subsequent winners, were very interesting and mentioned those. So I'm going to tip my cap to Ren here. In the 6th race yesterday, she went through the pedigree of first-time starter Thankfulness, and we're thankful to her. $8 on the win there, and then in race number 7, same thing. She liked Lightscape in the career debut, $640. So a couple of nice winners handed out yesterday on the undercard with some first-time starters looking up pedigrees given out, again, by Ren Carruthers. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, as promised earlier, Jen Kelly will join us. We're going to do a little holiday book guide. If you have some folks on your list that are horse racing fans, maybe we'll give you some ideas. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer: wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on a Sunday morning leading into the holiday season. And so I thought we'd tie in a little bit with our friend Jen Kelly, author, writer. You can find her work on America's Best Racing as well as other spots. But America's Best Racing is where I saw, again, it came up just within the past couple of weeks for me, but it was last year's holiday book guide that Jen wrote. And when I saw that, I thought, got to get Jen on. Jen, good morning.
Good morning. How is everybody today?
And you were saying off the air that's something you do annually, that holiday book guide.
Yes, I've been doing it for a while. I did it on my blog, and then when I gave up the blog, I started doing it for America's Best Racing, and I also put it in my newsletter. So I generally do one every year. Very good. And again, for folks who have a horse racing fan on their list, or as I said at the top of the show, maybe you want to give yourself a little gift. We'll toss out some ideas. Before we do that, though, I did want to go back and find out how your long weekend at Del Mar was. As a member of the National Thoroughbred Writers and Breeders Association, I pulled up the semi-annual meeting on Zoom. You guys were all out at Del Mar, you and Byron, the president. You're the secretary of the National Turf Writers and Broadcasters. So I saw you and the group out there. Again, their semi-annual Kentucky Derby weekend and Breeders' Cup weekend. Yeah. But you were out there, and also the annual Media Awards dinner. Joe Harper, Byron got an award, Nick Luck, Steve Anderson, and others. Looking at the pictures, it looked like a lot of fun. I was envious. I had a little FOMO brewing here because it looked like a lot of fun. But how was your long weekend out at Del Mar? Oh, it's fantastic. My husband kept asking me if I was still planning on coming home, because every time I would call him, I would, sing the praises of the area in one way or the other. And the racetrack, honestly, was the highlight. I love that racetrack. It is amazing, and I cannot wait to go back.
Yeah, I keep saying that's one I have to get. I went out and visited. I have a couple of nephews out in L.A., and a month and a half or so ago, I went out and visited and made my first visit to Santa Anita. That lived up to expectations. I have to get to Del Mar, too. That's still on the list.
Oh yeah, they're both fantastic facilities. I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, as I say, I was envious. All right, let's jump in and go through the list here. We'll kick things off. Racing's return from the brink. Fill us in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this book is by Jamie Nicholson, who is the editor or the series editor for the Horses in History imprint at University Press of Kentucky, which is the publisher that I use. So this book is about Old Rosebud, who won the 1914 Kentucky Derby, but this is also a chance to catch up on how racing survived the progressive movement and the anti-gambling laws. And so Jamie goes into not just Old Rosebud's career, which was monumental, but also how, the sport survived that and came back. So it's a great book if you're a history person and you want to kind of understand, how we were able to stay afloat through the progressive movement, which targeted, prohibition and other types of movements. This is a great one to pick up. Jamie's always such a good storyteller. He weaves all these threads that don't seem like they go together into one cohesive, narrative, and it's just always a good read.
I like that. Horse racing obviously attracts, but a little history, a little cultural history. So racing's return from the brink. Let's go to the greatest racehorse, Man of War and the Judgment of History.
Okay, so I interviewed Mark Schrager for a book review for this, and I wanted to know exactly how Mark undertook this project because it is such a great question. Is Man of War the greatest racehorse? And I know if you have spent any time at the rail or in a comic book store, you know that people like to have these debates of, who's better, Superman, Batman, Man of War, Secretariat, those types of conversations. So he uses a series of criteria to judge Man of War alongside other racehorses like Secretariat, like Forago, Seattle Flu, just any famous racehorse from the 20th century you can think of. Mark holds them up next to each other and decides, runs through the context and discussion to kind of come to a conclusion at the end. And it's a great book. You don't have to agree with everything he says, but it's nice to have these conversations where you're looking at Man of War from 1919, 1920 alongside, a horse from the 70s or the 80s and just seeing how they hold up next to each other.
I like the concept because in sports in general, that's we're always, who's the GOAT? The GOAT is typically the one that was around when we were around, Michael Jordan versus Willis Reed or whatnot. So I like the fact that they went back in history and now, okay, let's look at your GOAT versus, Man of War. I like the concept there. Also, go ahead.
He said it came out of a series of conversations he would have with friends. And this is not something that happened, in one time or another. It's over 50 years of having conversations like this with people. And he said, you know what, I'm just going to write a book about it.
Again, I like the whole concept. I think is very intriguing. I like the fact that you get a head-to-head with more recent runners that some of us are maybe more familiar with. So that, again, history plays into that, horse racing history. Also, Calumet Farm, 100 years of pictorial history.
Yes, I just discovered this book, honestly. I was not aware that this was out. I got it through the Keeneland shop. So if you buy it from the Keeneland shop, a portion of the money goes toward the Keeneland Library Foundation.
Oh, nice.
And for people who haven't been to the Keeneland Library, it is the library for horse racing in North America. Like if you need something, any piece of information, a photograph, whatever, they've got it. And their staff is tireless. So I put this on the list because I wanted to encourage people not just to buy the book, because it is amazing. It's stunning. It's a coffee table book. It's huge. It's just photographs of Calumet and the horses, the scenes on the farm, just all these different memories of Calumet, especially its dominance in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But it goes for a good cause. And, I know there are a lot of people who have a soft spot for Calumet Farm, so I think this would make a great gift.
Yeah, and when I first got in the game, certainly very notable Aladar and horses like that. So that's one that's maybe a little interesting to me. And that you mentioned another place I'd like to go, because you will read things by authors all the time. Gee, I was doing research for an article I'm writing or a book I'm writing, and they talk about the Keeneland Library. I have to get there as well. All right, the Oak Tree story, a history of racing's most generous benefactor. This one's kind of interesting because to me, I'm an East Coast guy, so I know of Oak Tree, but I'm not that familiar.
Yeah, I wanted to call this one out for my friend Jay Hovde, who has done great work documenting West Coast racing history. As someone who lives in the South, I'm primarily East Coast. You're primarily East Coast, so we don't necessarily get exposed to the stories from the West Coast as much as we might be able to were we out there. So I liked the idea of being able to read about the Oak Tree story, because when I would do Breeders' Cup work, I would see discussions about, Oak Tree at Santa Anita did this Breeders' Cup. And I thought, well, what's the difference between Oak Tree at Santa Anita and Santa Anita? So this was a great way to deep dive into what Oak Tree was, which, they're no longer doing meets out on the West Coast, but they're still around and they're still, doing philanthropic work. So I thought this was a cool way to kind of get to know that part of California racing history and what they meant to the sport on the West Coast.
Yeah, again, as a kid, and really until relatively recently, you'd hear that Oak Tree meet, and I knew a little something about that, but that book is interesting to me as well to get a little more into that history. And also Stymie. This one, I'm interested to hear the explanation because the subtitle, A Novel in Stories.
So this is Andy Plattner, who has won a Tony Ryan Book Award before for his fiction work. And normally I don't do a lot with fiction just because fiction in horse racing and in equestrian sports is just such a broad genre. There's so many people writing in this space. But what was unique about Andy's book is that it is writing about this character's story alongside Stymie's career. And if you don't know Stymie, this is a great opportunity to read, some really great story about this character, but also to read about Stymie, who was a great racehorse in the 40s. And I mean, there's a book called Out of the Clouds, which is also about Stymie, but I just thought this was a really unique way of merging horse racing history with Stymie and fiction. And Andy's such a great writer. I mean, you can't go wrong. It's unique. And I like to call out things that are unique.
Yeah, it looked interesting to me just from the title alone. I said, send me some titles you want to talk about. And there were the titles you sent me. But I have three more that I know you can talk about as well because you're involved. And I'll kick it off with Racetracks of America by Brian Bouye. And I bring this up and I say you can talk about it because it covers the history of a lot of racetracks in America. We had Brian on this summer to talk about it when the book came out. But the racetracks are covered by a number of different authors, names that people will know in the racing industry or people that we've had on the show up at Saratoga, including you. So talk a little bit about the book and which racetrack did you cover?
Oh my gosh, this book, I swear, every time I pick this book up, I sit there for like an hour flipping through it because there's just so many things to look at. So Racetracks covers a wide swath of both extant and defunct racetracks from across the country. I think we even get into Canada, and we got about 30 to 35 contributors who are turf riders from across the country. But I did Oaklawn and Kentucky Downs. Brian wanted us to do racetracks that we were familiar with, that were close to us. And, I've been to Oaklawn, I've been to Kentucky Downs several times. So I was happy to do both of those. The Kentucky Downs history was honestly harder than Oaklawn because Kentucky Downs has had a very interesting existence to this point. There were a lot of interesting legal stuff that came up in the first decade or so, but since it's become this boutique meet that is you have to go. If you've never been, you have to go. It's so unique. It's a European style race course. It's like kidney shaped. It's grassy. It's undulating. It's fantastic. So I was very flattered to be asked to contribute to the book. And every time I look at it, I can't believe that I was asked to do it because it's just such a fantastic collection. And it's not even every racetrack. That's the sad thing. We had to cap it because there were so many racetracks we could have picked from. And they're like, if we do every racetrack, this book is going to be 800 pages. So
and it's extensive.
They had to cut it off.
It is extensive. When I was talking to Brian, it's extensive, but like you say, it's already heavy. again, a nice gift. And I think you can check online at National Museum of Racing, but I think that the National Museum of Racing gift store is essentially where you can pick that up, but folks can check online, certainly. All right, and a couple others I want you to talk about because they are Jen Kelly books, Sir Barton and the Making of the Triple Crown and the Foxes of Bel Air, Gallant Fox Omaha, and the Quest for the Triple Crown, your 2 books. And if I saw correctly, I think on social media, you're offering up signed copies.
I am for the holidays.
Nice.
I've sold out of the hardcover one, so unfortunately, I don't have any more hardcovers. But I do have 4 more paperback bundles where you can buy both books in softcover, signed plus shipping for $50. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram at the Sir Barton, and I'd be happy to sell you a book. And if someone already has the books, but they still want my signature, I am selling book plates as well.
All right.
So I can, but the book plates are $6. They cover that's just to cover shipping mostly. And, I'm happy to mail people a book plate if they want to stick it in their book. But I've got 4 of the softcover bundles left. They're great gifts. If someone, I ship it in a gift box too with fancy paper and all this stuff. So I make it a fun, gift idea for anybody or for yourself. I mean, honestly, let's not kid ourselves. Sometimes we just got to treat ourselves to something during the holiday season.
That's what I said earlier. You want to give yourself a little something for the holidays? Hey, who doesn't want a signed book on their horse racing bookshelf? And I think we also have a shot that includes your website. Jennifer Kelly writes, and I noted there was a contact link there. So if people wanted to use that to get in touch and learn a little bit more, they can visit that. So highly recommended. Hey, Jen, really appreciate the visit. And as I say, I think it's a good idea if you have a horse racing fan on your list, some book ideas that they would enjoy. And you've mentioned a few. Well, you've mentioned all of them. I think I'm interested in.
I mentioned a chunk of them. There's quite a few that came out this year. But if anyone is looking for a racing, book recommendation, please contact me. I'm always happy to, throw some book ideas out at you for the holiday season or for any time of the year, really.
Very good, Jen. Again, appreciate the visit and. Hopefully, I was going to say see you sooner rather than later, but I'm sure we'll see you next year up at Saratoga. We do every year. Looking forward to that. But enjoy the holidays.
Me too.
Thanks.
Yeah, you too. Happy holidays, Seth. Happy holidays, everybody.
Appreciate it. Jennifer Kelly, again, author, writer, and as I say, has the gift guide on the America's Best Racing website that I just stumbled on a couple of weeks ago from last year, but I thought, let's do a little update and give some ideas. So hopefully we gave folks a few ideas that they will capitalize on over the next few weeks leading into the holidays. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, but coming up will be League Lockdown in just a moment, so stay tuned for that. Do want to alert you, I'm headed out middle of next week for a little visit down to my relatives down in Arkansas. I have a great nephew, senior in high school, really good basketball player. They have a tournament, so I'll get to see 3 games. So I thought I want to see the senior year game, but if I go down during a tournament, I can see 3 games. So that's going to happen at the end of next week. So I won't be in next weekend. The picks will be on the website. There'll still be the one sheet and whatnot, but no weekend programming. So I do want to alert you to what's coming up next weekend. Bounty Bet is going to return on Friday. That's going to be the late pick 5 at Aqueduct. And as you can see, there is a nice chunk of change up for grabs with the Bounty Bet. There's a double promotion day here at the Clubhouse Racebook next Saturday. It's going to be the match bet and the exacta board. That's a week from today right here at the Clubhouse Racebook. And I would alert you, I'm looking at my email, and I haven't gotten a follow-up, so I'm not sure King of the Hill yesterday. I think it was hittable yesterday, so I'm not sure whether that continues or not. Yesterday may have wrapped that up, but keep your eyes on the promotions and events here for updates there. And if I hear something later in the day, I'll let you know whether King of the Hill comes back next week also. All right, I am going to wrap it here. We'll be back 12:40 post time at Aqueduct today, 12:20 at Gulfstream. So we'll be back in, an hour, a little more than that for OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. But in the meantime, we'll take a break, and when we come back, it will be a league lockdown with our man Anthony Provst from the control room coming into the studio, out from behind the camera, in front of the camera, as usual, his weekly Sunday rundown of some of the NFL action coming up, so stay tuned. League lockdown coming up next, and a little bit later on, OTB Live. We'll see you then.
The 2025 Global Symposium on Racing. It's the premier networking event of the year. Connect with the who's who of racing. Collaborate face-to-face with key decision makers. Be a part of the international conversation. Discover the latest technology and innovation. Join us December 8th through 10th. Register at racingsymposium.com.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
The championship season is on at Gulfstream Park. Great horse racing action Thursday through Sunday. Come out and enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete over the Hallandale Beach Oval all season long. Take your experience up a notch and join us in 10 Palms Restaurant with unbeatable track views, outstanding dining, and convenient wagering options. For reservations, event schedules, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to League Lockdown, brought to you by Capital OTB. I'm your host, Anthony Provst, and we're going to be previewing every NFL game we got going on this Sunday. But first, we're going to look back at Thursday night's action. The Lions pulled out the triumphant victory over the Cowboys, who have been dominant the last few weeks. They put that one down and put it away 44-30. Now, let's look ahead to today's Sunday lineup. Starting at 1 o'clock, we got the Titans and the Browns, the Seahawks and the Falcons, the Colts and the Jags, Commanders and the Vikings. And I know you Commanders fans, I know you Vikings fans are going to have some feelings about this one. J.J. McCarthy has been cleared for concussion protocol, and he will be set for this game. And Jaden Daniels is back, ladies and gentlemen. After a few weeks of being out with that messed up arm there, he is all set to go. And now, after that, we got the Bills and the Bengals. And for you Bengals fans, T. Higgins is going to be teeing up after clearing concussion protocol and will be suited and ready to play for that game. And then after that, you got the Saints and the Bucks. You got the Ravens and the Steelers, and then the Dolphins and the Jets. Taking the 4 o'clock spot now, you have the Broncos and the Raiders, the Rams and the Cardinals, the Bears and the Packers. Now on Sunday Night Football this weekend, we got the Texans and the Chiefs. And then Monday Night Football, we got the Eagles and the Chargers, which with the one thing I love about this Eagles-Chargers game, not only is it going to be on TV, ESPN, but it's also going to be on Disney+. This time they are doing it the way, the way that Christmas or Thanksgiving the past few years with using Toy Story and characters. But this time, for this one, they're going to be doing it with Monsters, Inc. That's what it is. Monsters, Inc. is going to be the way they set up this Eagles-Chargers game for Monday Night Football. That I've been excited for this one since they said it. So that's gonna be a funny one. Few injuries, few inquiries we got to talk about. Cardinals fans, it has been reported, it got talked about on Friday. Kyler Murray's foot injury has not progressed anything, so he is out for the rest of the season. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't really expect it to get any better. I'm surprised that they waited till now to finally say, yeah, he's out for the rest of the year. Falcons fans, unfortunately, wide receiver Drake London was ruled out on Friday, as well as Colts fans. You are not as saucy as you think you're going to be because Sauce Gardner also got ruled out. And then Bucks, Mike Evans is out, as is Jalen McMillan. There we go. That's how you pronounce that. They were both ruled out on Friday, and they won't be playing. And Game of the weekend. I have one definitive, but I want to pick a second one. And the hard part about picking a second one is because there's no definitive knuckle drag knockout game that's going to be back and forth, offense for offense, defense for defense, special teams for special teams, except for one that I can narrowly lock in, which is the Texans and the Chiefs. Now, the reason why I say the Texans and the Chiefs specifically is because with the Chiefs bouncing around the mid-card of the league this season, currently sitting at a 6-6 record, it's going to be difficult for them to be that dominant playoff run team that they normally have been the past few years. And on the other side of that coin, you've got the Texans, who've been also middle of the pack. But with Houston, it's win-loss, 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 dominant win, mediocre loss, mid-level win, dominant and significant loss. So it's highs and lows, up and down for both those teams. And with Houston sitting third in their division, respectfully, behind both Jacksonville and Indianapolis, all the while Kansas City also sitting third in their division behind the Chargers and the Broncos. So they're going to be both looking to make moves this latter half and this back half of the year and fighting for playoff contention of who's in the hunt, who's lurking, who's leading the division. Is neither of them are leading their respective divisions. So both in the hunt are lurking right now. So that's my definitive locked-in game for game of the weekend. But I want to say that one that you want to raise an eyebrow to, it's maybe not going to shock anybody, but might be an interesting one because is Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And not only is that Ravens fan bias, but more because you look at the way the AFC North, that division, the Ravens been dominant years and years and years and years and years and years. And then Pittsburgh, dominant the first half, barely scrapes by wild card exit. So looking at that game specifically, you look at how the Ravens season is shaped up this year. You look at how Lamar Jackson hasn't been playing so well, how the Ravens offense has been struggling a little bit this second half of the year, while their defense has been predominantly productive, all the while the Steelers offense predominantly productive and destructive the first half of this season. The second half, though, not as much. And with now Jalen Ramsey deciding to leave Pittsburgh, his almost location was Buffalo, but that hasn't worked out. So they're now missing a key part, Pittsburgh is, of their identity in Jalen Ramsey. So I'm going to say don't expect much out of that game, but keep an open mind. That's all I'm going to say for the Baltimore and Pittsburgh game. Keep an open mind because Aaron Rodgers in the offense have, like I said, been struggling, as is Lamar Jackson in the Baltimore offense. But if you want to watch all that action, if you want to come see the spectacle that is the NFL and football action, come right down here, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Our food vendor and partner, Black Bear, get some great food. I always recommend the food. It can't be beaten. I promise. It is so, so good. I can't sing the praises enough. Always the best food. Watch the football action. Always come and watch the horse racing action and have yourself a grandiose time. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring this episode of League Lockdown to a close. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to stay locked in.
We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet features great racing now through Florida Derby weekend at the end of March.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.